Good day to you all, and welcome everyone to our first session in this series of sessions. And I must thank Jose profusely because you stepped up to this and said you're willing to host the first session. So this is a session for both accountants as well as non-accountants to join in and listen to some very interesting topics the first session is related to carbon and clean energy. So the carbon market, so to speak. And Anil is our presenter for today. But before Anil starts off, I want to ask Jose to say a few words about your company, what you do. And I know you're doing some very, very interesting stuff. So over to you, Jose, before Anil starts off. Thank you.
Ross, do you want to take over?
No, you just a little round out.
Okay. So
I'll specifically talk about CFO.
So welcome everyone to Melbourne and wherever you are listening to this presentation. We ASV help you group of businesses. We have a number of different businesses in the financial services, accounting, education. The one that might be of interest to you guys will be CFO on call, which is very, very similar to the work we do, full of CFOs. So I'll get Ross, our senior partner of the group, to tell you a little bit about it. 5 minutes, Ross, normal.
I have some notes because Jose says I talk too much, so I'll try to keep to 5 minutes. So Jose's asked me just here to introduce CFO on call to you guys. I'm sure many of you would have heard of it. It's been around for 30 years, but introducing it to like-minded people. And it's not necessarily pure financial stuff, as many of you would understand. CFO on call is an Australian-New Zealand business, so we're in both countries. How do I get involved in this? You probably think I'm a boring tax accountant. I actually spent several years in commercial public listed company. In fact, as the internal auditor, so you can imagine a target on my back for all the knives. That was fun. But I brought management accounting to small business clients after that, out of that experience. And CFO on call was always running parallel to myself and what I was doing. So I was always interested, and now it's part of our group, so that's great. CFO on call has been around for about 30 years. It was originally started by Sue and Stuart, or Sue Hurst and Stuart Frost.
Whereabouts are you, David?
Sue's a prolific author on financial matters of just about any form you can look to as a CFO. From a business perspective, it provides businesses with a means of working through the sort of stuff that you guys all know pretty well, I expect, or you should know. But how to make businesses profitable, how to deal with cash flow, the financial problems that businesses get in, be it work in progress, be it stock, managing all these things, managing the finances, where you get the finances from. So at the moment, it's a franchise structure, and there are 15, 16 partners around Australia. It is, as part of a discussion today, a client from Darwin has recognised that they haven't got enough CFO quality people in Darwin, so they've approached our organisation. And in actual fact, the person most qualified to deal with that client is already fully occupied, so it's been passed to another one. But our qualified person or our experienced person is supporting the other one, and it turns out in the group there's a third person who's actually recently qualified in the same area. So there's a small team here able to assist these guys in Darwin. So that's a bit of an example of what might come together. But it's all for the benefit of clients.
Yeah. So guys, the reason why I've decided to tell you a little bit about CFO on call is because CIMA trains CFOs. We need CFOs to join the group. So that's an opportunity for some of you guys that might be interested. ASV Waitson or ASVW is the top 31 largest accounting firm in the country. It's about 10 years old, and we need good, energetic, smart people to join us. So that's enough about us. 10 minutes is up. It's all about you now. All yours, Anil.
Can I start?
Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Anil. I work for a company called Carbon and Clean Emission. Carbon and Clean Emission is a Melbourne-based company that provides services in the carbon market. So we help clients to build the carbon assets nationally and internationally, and we'll talk about what kind of projects and what those carbon assets are during the presentation. So just about myself, I'm a sustainable energy engineer by background. I've been working in the carbon market space for almost 2 decades now, actually 19 years. I've worked on different projects in different continents and countries like in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and so forth. And I have been advising lots of clients. I have advised many clients, multilaterals, banks, governments on this topic. So let me take you through my slides. So I would like you to just be with this slide for a moment. And the topic of this slide is climate change, which is the mostly used word in the recent history of our time. Basically, I would like you to be with this word for some moment and just think about it. I mean, almost 16 years ago, when I advised and consulted the Australian corporates, I would talk about impact of climate change to the businesses. And then climate change would be perceived as something that is going to happen in the very, very distant future at the time. Although it's a very commonly used word these days, climate change has become a new norm and reality. I don't need to tell all this to you. This has been already on the media in this week as well. The disaster became over 50 people, torrential rain in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, strong extreme heat waves in Southeast and then Asia that forced some of the countries like Bangladesh and Philippines to close their schools. So these are really the reality that we are living in. The bushfire in California, bushfire in Australia, the scientists have basically said it's due to the climate change. And it's not a surprise that 2023 was the hottest year in record. And it was not just a sporadic happening. Since 2014, the last 10 consecutive years has been the most hottest years in record. So that shows the magnitude of this problem. Now, how do you feel? I mean, do you feel you feel helpless, you can't do much about it? Do you feel excited that you want to contribute to this cause and at the same time, make some good business out of it? If that's the case, then this presentation is for you. So I will briefly introduce you to carbon markets. So as I said, when the world is grappling with the pressing challenge of climate change, carbon markets is one of the vital mechanisms to address the climate change challenge. So what carbon market is? It's basically a generation and exchange of intangible commodity known as carbon credits or carbon offset. And carbon markets are trading system in which carbon credits or carbon offsets are sold and bought. It's similar to share, but it's invisible as well. You can't see that there's no token or anything as such. So how do you create carbon credits? So where do you originate it? So it can be originated or created from different kind of project across different industry. You could create carbon credits from planting trees, putting solar panels, having wind farms, forestry projects, agriculture projects, transportation, manufacturing, you just name it. So how does it work? So let's get an example of a solar panel. Let's say, I have been involved in big scale solar power generation in South Africa. So what we did there was, the South African grid is very much coal-driven. It's coal-based grid, very much similar to Australia in that sense. So we helped the client to develop solar projects there, large scale, and they would feed into the grid. By doing that, they're displacing the equivalent amount of electricity that would have been generated by coal, which would have high carbon emissions. So because of that, the solar projects would be awarded with carbon credits. Just to give a very simple example. So similarly, if you put a tree on the ground, as the tree matures, it sequesters carbon, it removes carbon from the atmosphere. So for doing that, you create carbon credits. And the carbon credit, one carbon credit is equivalent to 1 ton of carbon dioxide, which is a couple of gases lumped together, mostly carbon dioxide. So once you create that, then you sell it in the market. So I will come to it in the next slide, who are the buyers and who are the sellers and how does the whole market work. I just wanted to give you an understanding how the carbon offsets are generated. So carbon markets, basically there are two kinds of carbon markets. One is compliance carbon market, the second one is voluntary carbon. And in terms of Australian context, if you talk about Australia, we have got both market, compliance market and voluntary market. I'll take you through that later. So compliance markets are created due to national, regional, international requirements. So government mandates or regulation must comply with a certain emission reduction target. In order to comply with that, they will have to purchase carbon credits. So that is compliance market. If you do not comply with it, the companies will be penalized for it. So in order to comply, they would reduce the emissions and they would buy carbon credits. Whereas voluntary carbon market it operates independently from the compliance scheme. It allows like individuals, companies, governments to voluntarily purchase carbon offsets. You must have done many times while you're traveling, like Qantas have got a program, carbon offset program. When you fly from one country to another country or one city to another city, you buy those on behalf of you, for example, to offset it. So the voluntary carbon markets they're not regulated, but it's like more you purchase credits on a voluntary basis. So I just wanted to show you this little graph. You can see this one.
Anil, if you can speak up, please.
I was trying to grab this on our web. So can you hear me better?
No, if you can speak up a bit more, please, because it's quite low. Your voice is quite low. If you can speak up, that'll be great. Thank you.
It'll help if you come closer to the speaker.
Oh, the speaker here.
Yes.
Possibly that, Chair.
Thanks, Anju, for letting us know. Is it better?
Yes,
Anju?
much better. Much better. Thank you.
Close to the microphone now here. So carbon price. So this slide shows you basically the carbon price in different countries. So I just wanted to make a note that the carbon price, they keep changing like a share price every day or every month. So this is coming from 2023 data. So I just wanted to give you a taste of how the carbon price looks like in different countries, from China to South Korea to Australia to European Union to UK. I mean, as you can see, the European Union has got the highest price, $125, whereas Australia has got $34 that's in the market. And if you sell it to the government is buying around $70 per ton of carbon price. So if you look at the next slide, I will show you the price for the voluntary credits, which you would see much cheaper than the compliance carbon credits. So as you can see, the different prices for the different voluntary carbon credits. And as I said, the price varies depending on the project, what kind of project you have and what kind of industry it is. Like you can see, forest and land use have got $5, whereas energy efficiency projects has just a $2 per ton. These are just the indicator for the price. So these are based on the large volume of trade. So it doesn't really reflect the individual projects. So in the market, the buyers tend to look into your project, what kind of, other benefits you provide other than reducing carbon emissions, for example, social economic benefit, biodiversity benefit, and so forth. So more benefit you provide to the community and to a particular cause, the price for those carbon credits tends to be higher, because end of the day, this is the voluntary market we are talking about, and those kind of benefits really drives the price up.
So there are different types of quality of credits.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
It depends on the industries.
Industries and what kind of project you have, and yes. So now there is a big momentum for carbon pricing instrument globally, as this map I have taken out from World Bank report. So what it is basically why this is happening is around the world, the countries, they have signed the Paris Agreement, you all know that. And under the Paris Agreement, every country has a target to reduce their country's emissions. So in order to do that, the government has adopted carbon pricing instrument as one of the mechanisms. This is the case in Australia as well. So Australian government has got the carbon market and safeguard mechanism from where they would like to drive down some emissions to meet their Paris target and to meet their net zero emissions target. So as you know, like different countries have got the net zero target. For example, Australia has got net zero target to reach by 2050, and the government is working towards it. So as you can see here, there are like 37 carbon taxes and 34 emission trading schemes already up and running globally, from Australia to Kazakhstan to China to EU to several states in the United States, South Africa, you just name it. So, and this momentum is growing. So this also indicates the opportunity in the market. If you are an investors or trying to get into the carbon market, you could see the potential to build a business out of this slide as well. So now I'll take you briefly through carbon markets in Australia. So Australian carbon market scheme is known as Australian Carbon Credit Unit Scheme. It used to be known as RF or Emission Reduction Fund. So what this ACU does is this ACU scheme presents landholders, community with an opportunity to undertake carbon projects. And these projects basically either aim to prevent the release of greenhouse gas emissions or remove and sequester carbon from the atmosphere. So there are different kind of projects happening in Australia, like savanna burning, reforestation, afforestation, transportation, energy efficiency, waste to energy, and from the waste industry. That is happening. So how it does, like up until now, when you develop a carbon project and you go through auction process with the government and the government will buy the credits. So now the government has created, because there was no other demand in the country. So government would buy, developers, individuals, businesses will create projects. But now government has come up with, the Labour government, I must say, has come up with a mechanism called safeguarding mechanism, which is a policy that sets a baseline to the most polluting industry in Australia. And if you go above a baseline, which is 100,000 tons equivalent of carbon dioxide per year, you have to buy Australian Carbon Credit Unit or Safeguard Mechanism Credit Unit. So they created another demand side for the carbon credits in Australia. So now if you develop a carbon project in Australia, you have a choice. You could sell it to the Australian government through auction, or you could sell it to the entities who are liable under the safeguard mechanism, who are the biggest polluter of the country.
So, Anil, how hard or how difficult is it to actually sell the credits?
So actually, how hard, and it's a good question. So just to give you, I was reading the other day, by 2030, there would be a demand of 31 million carbon credits, Australian carbon credits in the market. So the demand is growing. This is because now the liable entities, these mining companies, manufacturers, they have to buy it. Otherwise, they will have to pay a penalty. You'll be penalized for it. So what you do is either you reduce, you have your 100,000 tons below. If you go below, that's all good. You don't have to do anything. But if you go above, you need to buy carbon credits, Australian carbon credits, or safeguard mechanism credits. You need to buy that.
Beautiful. So, Anil, you mentioned 31 mil demand in the future.
Yeah.
Would you know what the current state is in terms of supply and demand?
Yeah, I do, but it's not on top of my head at the moment. But I could share that with you. Because government clean energy regulator, they publish quarterly report that they say how much is.
It'll be good to know, right, from my commercial perspective.
Yeah.
If we want to start projects and create carbon credits.
Yeah. So these are some of the opportunities in the carbon markets that I have. It's a very broad brush. And so this was developed specifically for the accountants, looking at their skills, like how accountants have good in numbers. They work quite a lot on compliance side, and they have good knowledge on financial advisory and project management. So based on that, this is specifically for the accountants and anyone other than the accountants as well. So the first one is carbon project investor. So if you want to do something in this space, you could be an investor. So you could put money or a pool of fund that invest into develops different carbon projects. And your revenue model would be the credits that you sell, you make your profit out of it, basically.
Have you got an example of something that could be that model?
Yeah, I mean, the banks here are investing on quite a lot of projects.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Like Commonwealth Bank, from memory, they do have their own projects as well. Mm-hmm. So I used to work for Standard Bank London before. Yep. So Standard Bank London would also invest in projects, and they have those credits and they will sell it off to other entities. Yep. So that's one example. Other one is carbon project developer. So you, for example, you don't have money, you just want to implement the project, you go and talk to investors and you use the investors' money, implement the project, get the sell the credits, and share the proceeds of the sale. The other key player in this carbon market ecosystem is carbon trader, who are very vibrant and they're the deal maker. So what they do basically, they would buy carbon credits from the developers and they will sell it they will match the supply and demand like any other share, traders similar to that. And in Australia, the trading is it's stepping up. Most of the contracts are still over the counter between parties, this contract signing. So now the government is working on setting up carbon exchange, which they said it's gonna get ready by mid this year. From this year, they will start.
Is that with the ASX?
ASX also doing it separately, but they are all doing it together.
Okay.
Yeah. So trading is the other aspect. So financial advisory for carbon investment, because as I said, lots of banks, insurance companies are looking to invest into carbon projects. So you need, those financial advisory, carbon investment advisory around that. So their scope with the carbon auditing and compliance services. Carbon audit is the basic, which tells you what is your carbon footprint and how much, what are the compliance issues to look for. Development of carbon accounting system, which is more using your accounting knowledge into a software kind of thing. And if you start coming up in this space now, and there's a good opportunity. Carbon market analysis. Again, there are companies who analyze carbon market. They try to forecast it, supply demand. They make commentary around price and those kind of work. More analytical work that is as well. So that is another avenue. I couldn't see the last one actually. What was on the? This is.
I'll be able to click that.
This one. You can just move that one. I'm just trying to drag it.
Straight the black bit.
Yeah. Carbon accounting and reporting. The final one is. So in brief. So basically, if you are a CEO of a company or a mid-tier level manager or somebody who is starting to work on a skill set, so there is something for everyone here. And it's an exciting industry, and it's just not just a business, it's like a service as well, because end of the day, you are doing something good for the planet.
So, if okay with you, Anil, I'll jump in quickly.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that today it's about, if you want to make this something useful for everyone, it needs to be a bit interactive. We need to use it as a network exercise. We need to be able to apply knowledge that we learn into the real world, into business, right? So if we go back, Anil, to the slides here, this is pretty much, guys, as accountants, specialist areas that we can jump into it today, right? So it's really a matter of interest, right? If you guys were interested, we could actually look at any of these areas and start something, because it's early, right? How many people are doing it? There's only a few similar to Anil, but I don't know any accounting firms or accountants actually doing this. So it's a great opportunity for everyone to jump on this, and whether you want to do it by yourself or you want to do it with us, it's irrelevant. I welcome opportunities. So if anyone is interested, I'm happy to have a conversation with us all.
Jose, I want to ask a few people from the UAE, because they've got a better understanding of that market there as well. So I just want to ask how mature the UAE or GCC market is. So let me ask Denny, because I know Denny was based in UAE for quite some time, and he was in the manufacturing space as well. And Denny, how mature is the UAE market when it comes to the carbon markets, carbon accounting? Denny?
Hi, Anju, thank you for arranging this. I want to start by first saying, I heard a story long time ago. This kid who invested in Bitcoin, he paid his first Bitcoin to buy a pizza, and today he is crying about, how much he lost. I don't want to be that guy. And I was thinking, as Anil was talking, how can I invest in carbon today and, keep it for some time as an investment, and sit on millions maybe for the future. But to answer your question, Anju, we are in UAE. I think it's still in discovery phase, scoping. People are still understanding what it's about. There's a lot of study going on, but it's not in the real mass right now. I have friends who are traveling actually to the US and to Europe to study more, understand more, and come back with ideas to their companies. But we haven't reached that space yet where the implementation is being talked about. But having said that, government in UAE is extremely proactive. COVID took them back a few steps, but they were planning to ban single-use plastics, and I think it's just a matter of time before this is a big talk being studied right now. And I won't be surprised if one fine day it's on the front page that this is something is being implemented, like Anil mentioned, on a compliance aspect. And definitely a lot of investors now in UAE will love to invest in the voluntary side as well. and see what business we can make out of it.
Thank you. And I want to go to Obaid because Obaid is a UAE national, and also he's in the forces, right? So he's working in the police force. So he would have some very good knowledge related to this. I just want to find out, Obaid, whether this is in the discovery phase, as Denny mentioned. What knowledge do you have?
Yes, hi, Anju. I think I agree with him. We are still in the discovery phase. We just starting with the new regulations to banning the plastic one-time use and this kind of things.
Right. And Ved also has accounting firm in the UAE. So Jose, a good ally for you in the UAE. So you guys can collaborate as well. But I must say in the UAE, like Danny mentioned, they are very, very quick to embrace these kind of changes, and this is certainly a positive change. So last week I was at the Sustainable City in Dubai, and they had a very nice 2-day forum, and the last day they had a pitch fest as well. And I will share with you guys some of the companies, startups who have come in and they were pitching. It was amazing. It was really fantastic to see the investment that the company is putting into this type of startup companies. So absolutely right, Danny and Obaid, when it comes to UAE, there is a lot of focus around this particular area, and we can now see that there is opportunity in all over the world, as Anil mentioned. So Jose, maybe you can start off with some other questions as well to kick us off.
Just to add on that, Anju, I think Dubai government itself is very proactive now. As we all know, that last conference of party, UNFCCC climate change conference happened in Dubai. And there are, I know, a couple of projects. The government is working on the solar as well. They're replacing fossil fuel with the solar one. So it's quite a right market in that sense to step into if people around that area are interested or have connections there. It's a good time.
Yeah, well, the reality is, Anil, that it's worldwide, isn't it? Europe, I believe that Europe is fairly advanced, way ahead of where we are. I've been doing a fair bit of collaborations with UTS, the University of Technology of Sydney. I'm still enough to be in the process of possibly doing a PhD in this. Right. I'm really, really excited by the whole thing. One of the biggest issues that the industry is currently having is in the fraud and compliance of it, right? Because they're finding that a lot of companies keep reselling the same credit, and there is no way of tracking and measuring how this is all stored, I guess. UTS has done a lot of work in that, and they've been able to create a system using blockchain technology, right? Which sounds pretty exciting to me. And I can see the benefit of why they've gone down the path with that technology. Yes, interesting thing. But in terms of what we could do, really, we can jump into any of them. As we were discussing before, Neil, to be honest with you, I really like them all. But carbon trading, it's one of the areas that are of most interest to me because it's the game that we're in, as well as the developer. Some source, we got funds, we got AFSLs, and we got vehicles that we can use to attract investors, right? But the immediate one is to be able to offer the service to the market, right? So if as accountants we start specializing in this field, we'll be ahead of any potential future accountants because we're starting from ground zero, right?
Accounting. So what the Big Four they do, like EY and KPMG,
yes,
is they work more on the analysis side and a bit of a compliance side as well. They do quite a bit of work with the market participant, but they are not into trading or developer investments. So they haven't, I don't think that's their appetite. So the other ones they're doing.
They're all typical accountants, right?
Yeah.
They're not business people. So that's where the opportunities lies, in those projects. We're discussing the other day together with yourself and about the possibility of getting third world or developing economies involved in this, like Fiji, my part of the world, South America. So the opportunities are endless, right? If you have money to invest, to the developer, and the rest are pretty much, services that we can offer to the market. So as accountants, we're in a prime position to be able to do whatever we want to do really at this point in time. So it's very interesting, guys. If anyone is very serious about this and want to drive it, talk to us because we're interested.
So I'm just
Sorry, go ahead.
There you go.
No. I just wanted to bring in Anthony because he was also quite interested in this and being in the space of manufacturing. Anthony, are you able to speak now or are you still driving?
I am, but I can speak. That's okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you for the presentation. It has been really interesting and enlightening. I guess the thing that's going through my mind at the moment, and I've also been in the waste industry and know the work that's being done around waste to energy, around repurposing of especially construction materials and the like. So in thinking that, do we see a point where companies that have the opportunity to sell carbon credits in the future, especially in Australia getting closer to that 2050 goal, are they going to be companies that are more attractive to investment compared to those that may not have credits to sell and end up being companies that have to buy more credits? Is there going to be a disparity around that and industries being more favoured going forward?
So if I may, Anil, so my understanding is that yes, there will be industries that will attract investors the most. I was talking to this company that it's growing marijuana, right, in Fiji, not Fiji, so Papua New Guinea. But this thing, it's not the average marijuana plant. You can actually make furniture out of these damn things, right? So they're like big plants. I'm not sure why they grow that pretty wild in that part of the world. But that industry apparently is one of the most attractive to this creating carbon credits. And the value of it is very expensive, right? To the point that if you use the marijuana to build furniture, it can last. This will offset carbon for 100 years or something like that, right? So the stronger the quality of the industry, the more expensive that is going to be and the more money is going to attract. It's already happening.
Right.
David had another question, right? Oh, sorry, Anthony, go ahead.
No, I was just saying thank you for the answer there. That's good insights. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the compliance part. I'm a bit confused. If you look at the compliance, so okay, who is bringing all these compliance? Who is implementing this compliance? Are they going to follow those things? Like kind of, if you look at all these greenhouse gases or whatever it is, are any businesses willing to forfeit their profits or plans and whatever you call it? Is that going to happen? That's my question. So who is going to be willing to because their profits, or who is going to be say if you look at the war that takes place in many parts of the world, they are part of the carbon emissions. They're part of it. So being built to destroy human beings. So how do you explain that? Who is going to? So
it's already happening. So
yeah.
There are companies. They'll tell you more about it. But there are gold mining companies that are carbon neutral, right? So they're making that much money, man. It's part of the requirement. It's compliance. They have to, because if they are extracting that much resources out of the environment, they have no choice. So they are already foregoing profits and whatnot because they have to.
So
that is only part of the entire, like if you take, not I wouldn't even call it 2080, it's like
Yes.
580.
Yes.
It's 595. So what are they willing to do? So we talk about everything. So in the reporting, everything comes in through.
Yes.
Like we are looking at from all angles.
Yes.
So who is willing to actually implement that? Who is willing to sacrifice these things? Like we are talking about bonuses and big money. Okay, who at the top of the ladder is going to be like? They will be talking about these things. Everyone's talking about these things.
So if you remember, a couple of years ago, it was legislated, right? So the governments can easily just go like that, mate.
Yeah, but they're the ones who don't they're the ones who make the law and they're the ones who break the law. So what's the accountability there? That's what I'm trying to find out. So
yeah, but we can say that about everything.
Exactly. But
Look at the scandals, right? So
yeah, I think what David's kind of trying to say is, yes, it's out there, like it's talked about. When is it going to get really serious?
Yes.
Like it's a part of the, is it an accounting standard? Like a P&L balance sheet, you've got to disclose it. And if not, what happens? And is there an audit component that every even small business has to go through, or what sort of tier your business is, and how is it going to really impact your business.
Yeah.
So I mean, I work in the energy industry just recently.
Yeah.
I did hear about it. They've changed their strategy to green energy because it's coal-fuel energy industry, like it's mainly in, but they built like all these green hubs, energy hubs and all of that. So maybe that's a part of it because I was more involved in the costing side.
Yeah.
So to me, it's still not really kind of people are taking very seriously.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's
great.
more-
Yeah.
You're right.
It's more than serious, isn't it? It's just that I'll come back to the same point I'm trying to emphasize here. It is like they're torn between two. Do you actually go with that and implement, and do you do what is right, or do you do what is right to your own company? So that problem is there. And as far as I know, there is an urgent need to start implementing these things, but it is very slow. It's not happening immediately. It's
You're right.
still on a long way to go.
The other thing that I just picked here was the carbon trading, credits trading. Like, is that going to be the scope of a business? Like, like if your scope of the business is, say, for example, if it's an accounting firm, yes, it might be carbon neutral, but is that really going to be the scope of your business? Like concentrating on trading?
No, that's a different industry altogether, isn't it? It's a different
how does
company altogether, isn't it? Yeah.
Altogether. So if you're an accounting firm, you can have a subsidiary who could, if you are keen onto it, there is an opportunity to, because you are all very familiar with the FSL license, and you need FSL license to become a trader.
Right.
So you could, divest a little bit a subsidiary, and you can have that arm.
So you're just the middleman.
Yeah, I was more so like just curious how effective this trade's gonna be.
Yes.
Because like businesses, they do their usual trading. Like it's just kind of like another line of income. Is that how it's gonna?
The traders in Australia, they're making really good money.
Are they?
So, yeah, they're making good money.
But that shouldn't, because green energy should be just something that you should do regardless.
Yeah, but you need to.
No, it can't work like that. It has to be commercial. In other words, have love and passion, right? Because it doesn't last long term. So these are all the different industries, right? That we can actually get into ourselves. And look, it's early, right? But there is a plan. There's a 2030 plan where they reckon that.
Exactly. That's a target. It's never achievable. It's not going to happen. So we'll have to forget about that target. Like that's a target.
Well, apparently, look, I was with you when I didn't know anything about it, right? But now that I'm looking into it, we have no choice.
We have no choice.
So companies like this, we have to buy credit.
Yeah. But what's the lovely word he used is seriousness. I don't know if that's seriousness, but it's just how much everyone's actually, including myself. I can't be talking. I don't know I can't be talking, but still, as a business, that's what we are talking about. Trying to bring it here. So how much are you going to be? Say my business is all completely whole fleet is all Rolls Royces. Now I'm just trying to bring in an example here, and they're all V8s and how do I? So I'm trying to bring this idea to my boss and say, my CEO, and say, all right, we need to start cutting these stuff off. They are so fixed onto that Rolls Royce badge.
Yeah.
So he's not willing to. I'm trying to give the idea to him, say, okay, there are two elements here. One is, I don't know, I could be hypocrite here, but so cutting on the carbon emission that we are putting on to the environment. So one is that. Number two is the amount of cost we could save. The maintenance is very high, plus the fuel is very high. So I'm trying to put that into the box and say, okay, we can save money one way and we can do some good to the environment. So there's a challenge like me, there are so many accountants who are going to have the similar challenge. Like, how do you say, as an accountant, how do you make your bosses how do you convince
listen to you?
How do you convince them that we have?
You're an accountant, man. You need to save them money,
Well, sorry, just to jump in again, like that's why I was talking about the scope of the business. Like if it's a Rolls-Royce company, like you'll be paying, it'll be just a cost. So it's a cost that you probably will be maintaining in future then. Am I right? Like
100%.
Yeah.
But it's funny, because we know what happens to any cost that we incur as a business, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What happens? We pass it on to the end user.
That's right. Yeah.
So everything's just gonna get more expensive eventually anyway. So
And I think
It's just gonna,
Go ahead, that's right.
it's just gonna be another cost that gets added to your
Absolutely,
production.
to our balance sheets and whatever it is, you have to bring it in there.
I think, guys, I have another view as well. It's not only the cost associated with it, but also I think when Anthony brought in the perspective of value of the company, right? And the reputation of the company and the investment attractiveness, that brings a different perspective altogether, isn't it?
That's feasible and that's possible, Anju, when the investor is actually looking into that part of the
So the thing is, like, currently there's legislation that's been brought in, rules are being brought in, fines are imposed, right? So in certain parts of the world, it is far advanced than in Australia. And as Obaid and Denny mentioned, in the UAE, and I'm based in UAE part of the time, so I know very well, there's a lot of focus around it. There is an opportunity there as well. And that's where I'm sure, Obaid, you will be looking into this area very closely because you see opportunities for your own business. Am I correct?
Yes, Anju. To be starting, apologies for the last recording when I was with my kids. Yes, I have a huge opportunities and exposure in the market through my company. We have been doing very good for the last 3 years as an accounting firm with all the manufacturing and construction companies. And we can see there's a new regulation for sustainability supported by the government. And the government itself has been establishing institutes especially for these research and developments.
Correct. So the opportunity for Ubaid would be working with the clients and now saying, well, we've looked after you, accountants or advisors or business partners, but now this new thing is coming on. So let us advise you, look into this area and quickly getting the knowledge and applying the knowledge and, engaging experts like the likes of Anil, if required, to work with them to work in these type of businesses that they're working with.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something here, as very much in line with Anju. So I'll just give you an example what is happening in Australia. So the Australian government has got a scheme called Climate Active Scheme, right? So if you apply for the Climate Active Scheme, end of the year, you get a logo, you become a carbon neutral company. Right? If you look at all the big electricity providers in Australia, AGL2, NG2, they all have got that accreditation. If you look at Bank, ANZ, Commonwealth, they all have it. And believe it or not, we even advise cafes. Cafe want to go carbon neutral because it drives more customer. There's a consumer awareness so much there. Accounting firms are going carbon neutral and they use under a signature, you have that we are a carbon neutral organization. You buy carbon offsets to offset emissions, you reduce emissions. So, and you have to comply that with every year. So if your company is choosing the path to go, I'm just giving a very small example, going down to path to get a climate active certification from the government, then you'll have to buy carbon credits. You'll have to maintain that every year. You need to report back to the government every year. So there's a compliance side, and who are better than accountants to look at the compliance side. And if it's your own company, you do it. And
the real interesting part to all of that, right, is that I don't think it's been legislated, just rumors, is that you can also use this as an expense to reduce your tax liabilities.
Oh, okay.
Right. So it's not something you can just dump in.
That's right.
It's just a total cost. But it's they're looking at bringing it in as part of the tax.
Yeah, I think you would get tax deduction if you go through that because all the costs that the business. I'm not very sure, but I advise because I'm one of the consultant under the Climate Access Scheme. We advise client to take them through the journey and get the certification, help them to develop climate change strategy, your target, and so forth. When you were discussing, first thing came into my mind is I think you guys should look for carbon neutral certification as yourselves, just to go ahead of the the crowd in the accounting,
Yeah.
industry. Yeah.
That might be an action point for everybody here if they've not got that badge, isn't it? So you can look at getting that badge for all your companies. That could be the first step in this journey.
So the example that you were asking before, right? Why would you do it? I've given you an answer. I would do it because it's expected of me.
Yeah.
Right? But also, I want to do the right thing. Right?
Yeah.
By
The question is how many of them are genuinely wanting to do the right thing. That's the problem. So
It's just
rather than for the sake of compliance and the need, but the actual.
I'll give you that answer
including
because
myself.
you missed my first part of the presentation because I have been advising corporates. I mean, my first interaction was 16 years ago. Exactly the same thing.
Yes.
Climate change, business, carbon. Kevin Rudd was bringing in carbon pricing mechanism. That's why he got kicked out of the whole job
Yes.
at the time. So we were together at KPMG. We were advising the clients around what climate change is, what carbon market is, how the carbon price is impacting your bottom line and stuff. So at that time, many of the businesses would think climate change is a hoax or is a very fast reality. It's not gonna happening in my lifetime.
We move very far
Yeah.
from that spot.
So from that point of to now, this game has changed significantly. Legislation has come in. I'll give an example of card mechanism, Australian Carbon Credit Unit, getting the badge, the climate active. A lot of things happening. I was in a meeting yesterday with Climate Change Authority of Australia. They advised they have got a mandate from the Australian government to review the Australian target. So now the Australian government is going more ambitious. So to reach net zero 2050 by 2035, now they're saying that we should reduce our emission by 65 to 75%. It's a very, very aggressive target. If that happens, everything comes down to the businesses. You have to reduce your emissions, or everything will be tightened up. So yeah, it's all happening.
It's going to be legislated. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, there's already legislation. Yeah, there is. It's just like a review of those targets now.
Okay, guys, Obaid wants to wants to comment on something.
Yes, I need to add just one thing that we have it here in UAE. I think the badge idea is already implemented, but in another way, not for sustainability, but we have it something we call it in-country value rating for all companies. And we as accountants, we rating these companies, and this is required by the government. So the process itself to be rating the companies and doing the badge, it's already here. But we need to support the formulas and the regulation and approved by the government. It will be a very easy process for all accounting companies and firms here to follow that guidance.
So that's already there, as you.
Yeah, it's there for in-country value for crediting the companies. But for the sustainabilities, we can do the same thing because we already have a system to rating the companies here by an accountant and auditors.
So this is something you can actually have a discussion with Anil and bring it to the government debate because you're in that circle of influence, right?
Yeah.
You're Emirati, so this is a great initiative for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I will show all the channels, and I know all the channels to the legislation to be approved. So it might take maximum 1 year of the new legislation to be approved by UAE. But as is it approved, I think it will be a very good move by UAE. And the last COP 28, when all the oil countries has been meeting here for sustainability, I think UAE will be showing that going towards sustainability by doing this regulation, and all the region will be following UAE.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because in the UAE, we are far ahead in a lot of things when it comes to systems, etc. So the systems are already in place. We've got the VAT going. We've got the corporation tax going. And then, of course, systems are ready for sustainability and those other new things to come in. Sorry? Yes,
Wow.
it is. They have already introduced.
All right.
I knew there was a scheme. It couldn't last forever.
And that's why Obaid is very happy about it.
Obaid's going to be a busy man. Let us know if you need help, Obaid.
No, the changing here in the market by adopting the VAT and corporate tax, is very good for all the accounting firms. It is not about only the VAT return and corporate tax return. It is how the accounting system treatment for all companies is changing itself. So the infrastructure for accounting is already now developed. So anything, the new regulation, it will be easy to adopt it.
Beautiful. Would there be an IFRS or just a silly question I'm asking? Do you reckon there's going to be an IFRS or an IAS?
IFRS.
Yeah, is it going to be a new one specifically for the carbon, or is it all?
I think is there already one standard for the sustainability.
Correct, that's right.
Yeah, and I will follow up with Anthony, and we'll see how's going on from UAE government, and
Yes.
I share all the information with Andrew.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Gauri, any comments from you?
I was interested in the carbon project developer part, Anil. If you can explain more, what type of development are you looking at? Because coming from a technology background.
Gauri, I want you to explain to Anil and the others a little bit of what you're doing, because then there is a lot of context. Because you're asking that, I know why you're asking, because it's very much linked to that project developer space, isn't it?
Yes. So we are trying to create an application, and trying to do an industry specific, though I can't share which industry because I have my co-participants here, but industry specific app creation for understanding how we can leverage carbon credits and what best can be done as a carbon project developer. If you can give more thought on that. And if on the Australian landscape, how can we leverage that? Any government schemes or any initiatives which government is driving, which we can take back as some benefits by implementing a net zero or something like that.
She's going to be your next Elon Musk, mate.
So in terms of AI technology, what I have seen in the carbon project space is they're used for monitoring quite a lot, because once you implement any project, let's say if it's an agriculture project or a forestry project or a cattle project, you name it. So there are some AI-based companies who are offering this service to monitor the data. So it's not a project itself as such, but that help those projects to monitor those data and give it back to the person who is crunching the numbers. So to the portal. So that is has become more common. But in terms of project development, so you could develop project from various things like manufacturing. If you bring in any efficiency around the manufacturing process that reduce emissions through your technology. Yes, that is
robotics. Use a robotics AI.
Yeah, as long as it reduces emissions. So we need to show the linkages with the emission reduction.
Sorry, and Gauri, your other PhD topic, right? Can you elaborate that one a little bit? Because that's also a project that may generate green credits. So I just want to find out whether that'll generate any green credits from Anil's perspective.
Yeah, so maybe I can talk with Anil separately, because there are two initiatives, Anil, which I'm driving. One on the research area, which I talked about the sea level rise, and we are looking at Australia, Torres Strait Islands, and some Portland specific regions which are directly impacted by sea rise, and any industries on that periphery, how they can benefit by say by government initiatives. That's one thing which is a part of my research. And the other thing, which is more about one industry specific, which we are doing an application implementation via Hedera for doing tokenization and trying to bring into a strategy around Hedera and develop an app on Hedera, which can, input some net zero benefits. I understand it is quite theoretical for us at the moment, because it is more about what type of emissions can it support at first level, second level, and third level. But we have just reached there. So what other things can we do is something which I want to understand more.
We can chat that later. If you could let me know more about the projects, then I should be able to give my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll take the coordinates from Anju. Thanks, Anil.
Wonderful, guys. Anything else?
So, yeah. Danny, anything from you? Or Scott? Scott has been silent. Anything from you, Scott? Or Olympia? Any questions, guys? Or you could put it in the chat.
Thank you so much, guys. Actually, I'm very, very new. with the carbon market. And I was very, very surprised and curious actually to hear you and to hear your knowledge. And thank you so much.
Where are you joining from, Olympia?
I live in Sydney and I come from Greece. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm very, very new with SEMA. I'm going towards SEMA in the next few months. And I love your meetings. Yeah. I love so much what you're doing and your meetings. It's the second meeting I am with you and I really, really love it.
Okay, that's great. I was in Greece a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
Loved it. Yes, I was in Athens. So where are you from?
Great. It's mainland. It's Peloponnese. The city is called Patra. It's very close from Athens, actually. Yeah. It's around 2 hours.
Oh, we should catch up. Yeah. Send me WhatsApp. Yeah.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you. Jenny, any comments or action points? What are you thinking?
I'm still stuck on this pizza guy, and I'm just wondering, Anil, when can individuals actually, trade on carbon? You mentioned the government is right now driving this, and there's some market development happening. When is that something coming up this year, or when can actually individuals buy and trade in carbon? Is that something coming up soon?
It's already happening. So there are traders who are trading, there are developers who are developing the projects. The investor who are investing into projects, so it's all happening.
As individuals.
Tell him what it is.
You mean individuals?
Yes.
He's going to need to have an AFSL.
Yeah, you need to have an FSL license to trade if you want to be a carbon trader. So for a project, you find a project, you talk to people like ourselves or others in the market, do the feasibility, then you develop the project and you basically go to the project cycle, creation of the credit.
So Danny, if you're interested in that, research, become a specialist, and you can do it under one of our AFSLs, and we can do it together.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Say if you want interested in the financial advisory for carbon investment or any, trading terms or compliance, is there something that you have to do, or is there a certification? Or
no, I haven't seen certificate. There might be actually if you Google online, but I've seen people in the bank they recruit this expertise and they So but I'm sure if you Google it, there would be some process. Yeah, be there.
Right. Diksha, anything from you? Questions, guys, before we wrap up? I think Anil has done a fantastic job. We've asked him so many questions.
Beautiful, Neil. Thank you, mate.
Thank you. And thanks, Anil. Turned out to be pretty good.
Wonderful.
We should have more often.
Right. Okay. So thanks. I'm going to wrap up with the online session just now, and the guys in Melbourne continue networking. Thank you so much, Anil, for this fantastic presentation, and thanks, Jose, for hosting it. Couldn't have done without you being there and stepping up. Thanks, everyone. We are sure we're going to meet up again, maybe next month, with something really interesting, and we'll let everyone know what's going on next month. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.